Hey, welcome to another show with Voices in the Struggle. I'm your main man, Big Ant.
But I'm Brother Reggie.
Hey, what's going on, brother Reggie?
Man, chilling, man.
We ain't
Just
did a show in a minute, huh?
yeah, whole big minute, long minute. We
Yeah,
back though.
we back, we back.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
and we're back. We're not only Voices in the Struggles is not only back, we are back with all things relevant media group. This is a is a conglomerate of black shows that's been put in place to give you the black news uncut and raw. We're part of the Black Media Matters movement now. So I'm very excited. I'm very happy about that. Because we've been
yeah.
doing our thing, but once you get with some other like-minded people, it can only get better. You
It's a
know what I
beautiful
mean?
thing. You only grow faster.
It can only get better.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey Doc, what's going on? But hey, we got a good show tonight. We have come back with a special guest. Um, he's an attorney. He's a new head of the Savannah NAACP chapter. So, without further delay, I'd like to bring on Mr. Attorney Chad Mance. So we're supposed to have a drum roll and some clapping there. I didn't plug that in.
Hey,
Mr.
brothers,
Mance, how
brother
you
Reggie,
doing, sir?
brother Reggie. I didn't get a chance to formally meet you, brother.
No,
Nice to meet you, man. Nice to
same
meet
here.
you.
Same here,
Yeah,
bro.
man. Y'all,
You
y'all
go.
doing great things. Y'all bringing the right energy. You speaking truth to power. You doing all of the things
Well,
Right.
thank
that
you, sir.
make the
You trying.
ancestors smile down on you. So thank you, and
Thank you, sir.
and and thank you for thinking of me. Thank y'all for putting together this platform together. It is certainly encouraging, and it is an idea whose time has come.
Mhm.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
most definitely.
So it's I had to have you on the show because we're gonna talk about it later. But I was I was very adamant
So,
about getting Al Scott removed. But so I had to have you on the show, because
Pleasure to be here.
I want to bring that energy back to the NAACP. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So for somebody who doesn't know, who is Chad Mance?
That's a great question. A lot of times I ask myself that question. I think there's a continuing sort of exploration of who you are as life
Absolutely.
takes you to different places. But a little bit about me. I was born in a small town in northern Georgia. That's Toccoa, Georgia. And that town actually used to have KKK flags and crosses burned right as you move into the town. Not
Wow.
not while I was living, but
Oh, I'm gonna say wow.
not long before I came into existence.
Mhm.
In fact, the Klan actually marched outside my middle school in response to a racial situation. Not
Right,
fully garbed though.
right.
So my grandfather was kind of like my father growing up, and he was a guy that sharecropped his entire life, with the exception of when he raised children and started to work on the railroad, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to drop out of school when he was in the third grade and was chairman of his deacon board for like 50 years, something crazy.
Wow.
My father and my uncle integrated the school system there and went to college. Dad went to Fort Valley State. My uncle later on went to Georgia Tech. And my aunt actually helped start the WIC program.
Oh,
And she's a nutritionist, also went to Fort Valley State years ago.
HBCU.
And yeah, so it's important in my family to be able to stay connected to your roots, not forget where you come from. And so since an early age, my parents told us who we were and whose we were, and made sure that we started learning about Dr. King's legacy, Malcolm X. My father had us read LaRon Bennett Jr.'s Before the Mayflower, things of that nature, the autobiography of Malcolm X. And so obviously I couldn't help but go to an HBCU. And so I'm a graduate of Morehouse College, went there, got involved in student leadership, became student body president there. And what we tried to do was really serve out the mission of the school. And that was service, leadership, scholarship. So we fed the hungry, registered people to vote. We did a lot of things in the community, much like the NAACP. Left there, went to University of Georgia School of Law, really realized that in the trial courts, we can do something special. And that is fight for the rights of really the unjustly injured folks. And so that's where I got my love for what I do as a trial lawyer here in Savannah, Georgia. And so I started a firm here, and we've tried to stay true to that value system that my parents put in me, and that probably started long before I was even a thought, you know.
Absolutely.
So that's what brings me here. I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah,
You did. So you come from a long lineage of fighters.
You can say that. You can say that. In fact, it is said that my uncle was the only person that could control the race riots during integration.
Wow.
And he's a bit of a brainiac, but he got into Johns Hopkins, and he would tell me the story about how the principal wrote a letter after he got into Johns Hopkins and said, "Look, you know, this Larry Mance guy, he's a troublemaker. You might not want to let him in." And shortly after, there was a retraction of that admission, according to what my uncle told me. Wow. So there is a spirit of fighting. And not only did my uncle and my father integrate the school system, but two of my cousins did too. So we were like 4 of 7.
Wow. Okay.
So those stories kind of stay with me.
So that's awesome. Yeah. Go ahead, Big Guy.
No, we're going to need you to integrate the community back into the NAACP.
Yeah. Hey, we're working on that. We're working on that right now.
That was one of my questions. Yeah, that's a good question. So now, since you're the president of the NAACP, Savannah, you know, what's the plans for the organization? What's your start and end process once you're in there?
I think that's a great question, Brother Reggie. And that's a question that I've heard over and over again. One of the first imperatives of the organization is always going to be to connect with the people. All right. Everybody's got different leadership styles. My leadership style is that it is not about a personality. And what we mean by that is it shouldn't be, what should Brother President want? What does Brother President need? It is, how can Brother President serve? How can the organization serve? So take my identity out of it.
Right.
Take Chad Mance out of it and make it about the membership of the NAACP. And within that membership, we got to remember our mission, right? We got to remember our vision, our values. Those are the things that really drive us, especially when we got to make hard decisions. And so the next thing is to unite capable people that believe what the organization stands for and put them in the right positions to do the right things to help the most people under those mission-based objectives. And after we do that, once we create a place with the right folks to do the right things, many of whom are already there, but we need to recruit a more diverse and younger base too. Then what we got to do is to put our plan out there. Don't keep it internally, but publicize it. Decide on it as a group. Make sure it's serving what the community wants it to serve, but let people know what you say you're gonna do.
There you go.
All right. You can't hide, but you can't hide behind that. And I think the public certainly will respect that level of transparency. And so these are some things that we can expect to see in the first 100 days of the organization. We're going to be a lot more outspoken on issues, certainly strategic though, in what we speak out about, because obviously what we say has an impact on what we will say. You know, when we're talking about credibility-based problems. But I think we're hopeful to build an infrastructure that once I'm dead and you're dead and Ant's dead, our children can benefit from that.
Very important. Yeah,
absolutely.
We don't want a house built on sinking sand now. We got to build an infrastructure for our children. And that's going to take some sacrifice. If we don't have systems in place, if we don't have a fundraising base in place, if we don't have a manual in place, there's certain things that will allow the organization to outlive a person or personality. Then the organization's in trouble, even if you got a dynamic executive board temporarily.
Right. That's true.
You know, I haven't met you or your lovely wife in person, but I see the things you guys do on Facebook. And when I saw the message that you were, the post that you was getting installed as a Savannah president, I was excited. I was excited because we have somebody younger in there. But I want to ask you, there's going to be a lot of skepticism when you talk to people, because the Savannah NAACP, you know, in my personal opinion, has not interacted with the community in a very long time, has not had a voice in the community in a very long time. I've been here almost 13 years, and I don't remember one action besides getting the voting machines fixed that the Savannah NAACP has done. So I think the community has gotten used to you guys being on mute per se, and them not participating. But with the Savannah community is waking up for the most part. You know what I mean? There are more activists in the community, more people demanding what they should already have. How can you expect to address issues more openly compared to the last? You touched on it. You touched on it last time. How can you expect to address issues more openly compared to the last administration?
I think one thing that we do is that we bring the right people to the table. All right. And by the right people, we're talking about people with a demonstrated track record of doing things.
With receipts.
With receipts. We're talking about people with organizational skills, okay, so that it doesn't degenerate into a personal attack. We're talking about people who naturally live out the mission of the NAACP. I don't want you to be a Johnny come lately at the table. And forgive me for saying this, I don't want you to be a clout chaser either. You know, if you're effective first and you chase clout next, I can deal with that. But if you just want to chase clout, that's not what the community wants.
Right.
Not even from me. Not even from me. But beyond that, once we commit to something, it's up to us to have a robust communications mechanism to get it out there in a way that would be readily available to people. So Facebook does that, Instagram does that, Vine does that, all these YouTube does that. But we only have to have one platform that will do it well, and I think Facebook is going to be a large part of what we do. In addition to catering to the older generation that may not get out and get access to Facebook like we normally do. We're going to have to be resourceful with remote communications, though, because I don't want anybody on the executive board or membership base to get exposed to this virus that's killing us daily.
Absolutely.
And that's my imperative as a leader, to protect anybody associated with the organization.
First and foremost.
But the key thing, Ant and Reggie, is to just be real. All right. Don't put on airs. If call a thing what it is.
Right.
Call a thing what it is.
That's right.
And speak truth to power in a strategic way that unifies people and inspires people to say, I can do this. Nothing is going to happen to me. The NAACP has my back. We are 54% strong in this community and amassing influence because we've joined hands with our Latino American brothers and sisters and other marginalized groups. And a new day is not coming. A new day is here. And so that's the sort of energy that I bring to the table as a person. But what's really important, Ant, is we talked about this, Ann and Reggie, before I even got on here. It's not about me. It's about NAACP and people. That's what it's about. It's about fairness and equity. That's what we hope to do with this.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I know Big Ant loved that, you know.
You know I do. You know I do. So,
yeah. Hey, what else? What's you go ahead and ask the next question.
All right. We have a comment from Ms. Orr, right? The West Savannah community needs your voice and backing in support of our position on the Weeping Time property on Augusta Avenue. Contact Alderwoman Bernetta Lanier, please.
I will. And thank you, Ms. Wright. Thank you. West Savannah is a near and dear place to me. In fact, one of my first major cases, Charles Smith, was a case that arose out of West Savannah. And the people of West Savannah are tight and have unity, although there are many challenges in West Savannah. And so, you know, we've got to begin to continue to speak up for West Savannah. And what I'm encouraged by Councilwoman Bernetta Lanier's platform on is that she's been speaking truth to power since she got in office. That's a bad sister with a robust intellectual capacity, and she will not be run over. And that's the type of leadership that we need. So thank you, Ms. Wright, thank you, and we'll be in touch.
That's what I'm talking. Now you were saying about getting the social systems, like the social media systems, Facebook, Instagram, for the younger folks, because the youth is the future. And back in the days when NAACP first started, you know, younger folks were in there. Now it's more like, you know, they're older folks that have been in there for years. You know, how do you get the youth? How do you see yourself going after the youth to try to get them a part of the organization?
Brother Reggie, that's a great question. And really, it opens the eye up to a problem that goes on with most Black organizations. And that is, you know, our Caucasian American brothers and sisters have a succession plan. They got a will, you know, they got life insurance. We ain't got, we don't have anything on balance. And that's power curve. You know what I mean? That's on a family level, an organizational level. And part of that is because we are sort of new to equal access to certain things, right? So we are still figuring out how to manage in that paradigm. So the youth are critical. They're critical to any movement. I mean, let's go back to the 70s, right? We go back to the 70s. It was the youth that pushed this civil rights case law through the courts. Okay, but we go back to the 60s, and it was the youth that drove that movement, right? And now we're seeing it with the George Floyd movement, right? And so the youth is a critical part of democracy and equality. And so how can we not have the youth? How did we not have the youth involved in this?
Exactly.
Because movements have to evolve or they die. They die.
Well, like Big Am said, that energy, the youth brings that energy, you know? So as you get older, everything gets mundane, you know, everything's the same. You bring that different ideas and keep you on your toes. You know, they keep the organization on its toes. So hey, we're young, we got some ideas, let's try these ideas and keep things going. I think that's important. Yeah, I like that. I like the way that sounds.
And Reg, look, one of the things we can easily do is pull out the cell phone. I mean, when I talk to college students as a lawyer, I would say, you've changed the justice system just by filming injustice with your cell phone. And we can change the justice system just by protesting on social media. Protest has many, many different forms. by
Right.
documenting the things that go on when somebody does something untoward or unjust,
Mhm.
by engaging in forum-based discussions is what Facebook allows us to do, and Instagram and other places. But the youth will be critical to that. But we first need to make sure that we have the systems in place so that we can engage our membership base appropriately.
Mhm. Oh yeah, sounds good to me.
Absolutely. Like in the Ahmaud Arbery case here, it was, older people and young people who were
Mhm.
citizen journalists per se. They were recording things with their phone. So, that's a critical connection. I think a lot of Black organizations fail to have that line of succession
Yeah.
because the older generation wants to stay in place longer than they should. But the older generation, they can never be discarded because we need them for wisdom,
Right.
while the younger
Right.
generation does the work. So
Right.
For
I
the
think
work.
I think we get caught up in that, and a lot of our older generation wants to stay in the seat forever instead
Right.
of passing the torch
Yeah.
who to somebody who had that fire like they had, when they took the position.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
That's right. That's right. My next question is now how you probably touched on this a little bit. How do you plan on getting the community involved? It's, the NAACP is a great organization, been around for a long time, but I'm quite sure it's the community involvement from my standpoint is not there. What's your plan on that?
So the first thing is bringing the right people to the table, like we said before, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's critical because if we put the wrong message out and with ineffective parts, then what we get is a flawed outcome. Nothing's perfect, but we got to give it our best shot. But then after we do that, we put a plan together that our membership base has a stake in. Okay. Transparent communication from the beginning is key.
Yeah.
Once we
Yeah.
decide on those action items that we're going to address and we commit to them, we can't do everything, but the most important things, then we're going to put together a point-based platform that we are going to release to the community in some form so the community can see this. All right. But beyond that, we got to engage people on all levels. So if people are on social media, we got to meet them where they are. If people want to see us in platforms like this, I'm going to make myself available to speak for the organization any day of the week now. And I think getting the message out is going to be critical because it's not that the NAACP has done nothing. It's just we could do better in how we communicate the message to the most people in the community.
Gotcha.
I would particularly like to see I'm making these suggestions, but as I told you on the phone, I'm here to support you in any way possible. So I'll be right there if necessary. But I like to see the NAACP get out in the communities more instead of meeting at the church, meeting at all of the churches and not the specific community because
Right.
you're missing a larger part of the community. But it's said that the NAACP just like to party and raise money.
Well, I like the party, brother, and I'm not exactly averse to money.
Right.
Mhm.
But I've heard that. Quite a bit.
And the fact of it is, both are great because you got to have fun and you got to raise money. You know what I mean?
Right. You got to have the funds to have the fun.
Right.
That's true. That's very true. I got one more question, Big Ant. No, Sam, you can go with your question. So, Attorney Man, so are you planning to work with any Black organizations? Partner up with NAACP?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, look. We're wide open. We're wide open. Okay.
Yeah.
And anybody that has a track record of doing things, and there are plenty of them. I mean, I think this is a great organization. Anybody that is in the struggle and has been doing it and knows sort of the nuances of it and can reach the most people, I think has some room for leadership in the NAACP. And anybody that is interested can join and work your way up in the leadership base. And I don't believe in this hierarchy of authority. You might have a young person that seems like they don't have much experience, but is a doer. And that person needs a seat at the table. But you might have an older person that has been there forever that, you know, might not be as effective. And that person is a person that may need some reevaluation and a transition of some sort. Obviously, I'm bound by what the bylaws say I can or I can't do. But you know, whatever needs to happen to move the organization forward is important. And I think Ant said something really insightful before, and that is we need the wisdom of the older generation. You know, some of these folks still remember Bobby Hill. They still remember W.W. Law. They still remember Curtis Cooper. They still remember these great civil rights figures and great civil rights struggles. And we need that context. We need that. I mean, a people without history is demoted to the lower animals, is what Malcolm X said. Because you don't have an identity. That's what distinguishes us.
You don't know who you are.
And so we need that identity from the older generation. But we need the vision and energy and fearlessness of the younger generation to move the struggle for human rights forward. And that's what I hope that we can do at the end of this situation.
That is awesome.
And I don't think I answered your previous question though. You asked about partying and something else. I want to make sure I'm responsive. Did I answer that question?
The NAACP is just known for partying and raising money. How do you expect to change this?
So raising money is critical, right? And that's because most NAACPs in the state of Georgia do not have a physical building. Do you believe that? I mean, that's crazy.
Wow.
I can believe it though.
But so we actually, unlike most NAACPs, do have a building, a hub of operations, but obviously that costs. And so we've got to keep the lights on. We have a person that works part-time with the NAACP. We have a small staff salary. You know, that is just for one person, of course. And I don't get paid. I'll tell you that the e-board doesn't get paid. But these are the things that matter. We give scholarships from time to time. Little things, but those little things can have a big impact. And so we got to keep the lights on. But what's most important is that people know that we're engaged, that they see that we're engaged, because we can't raise the membership bar. We can't raise money if the members don't see any value to being involved with the organization. And so really getting out the message of the NAACP, letting folk know what it is that we're doing in real time, building a robust communications platform, and really being authentic, real, and transparent, welcoming criticism, but at the same time trying to build bridges. I mean, we talked a little bit about this, Ant and Reggie, before. I was raised like this. My mama used to always tell me, what's done at home stays at home. And we are in a house in Savannah filled with Black folk, filled with Latino folk, filled with marginalized folk. And I'm not going to castigate or marginalize further my brother and my sister when we can solve this in-house and come out to the larger community as a unified whole.
I love that.
Because the power structure that is unjust thrives off of disunity. I mean, how do you think that these slave plantation owners controlled slaves that were physically stronger, outnumbered them, and likely in some ways intellectually superior? The only way they could do that is to keep them divided socially and fearful. And that plantation mentality is something that we see operative today. And the minute we start to unite in a meaningful way, we get these insurrections like what we got at the Capitol. And so what is happening in America is really telling us that we're effective at this time, but we've got to continue to take that energy forward and fight the good fight for all the people that stand in the ring with us.
You know what? I'm very glad you said that, because you know, the analogy I like to use is, you know, when you as a black child, when you wake up in the morning on Saturday mornings, you hear the music playing loud already, your parents up, you know, you got to get up and clean up. You have to clean your house, and there's no company over your house while you're cleaning your house. You know what I mean? So we got to take care of ourselves first. Then two, you said, just because we disagree, there are many ways to the liberation and salvation of black people. You know, you have to be able to work with anyone who's on that path. Who's going in that direction. You might be on a different path, but you're going in that direction. So we go. Hold on. Let's take some questions and comments from the audience. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Voices in the Struggle with Big Ant and Brother Reggie, and we have Attorney Chad Mance, the new president of Savannah NAACP chapter, and we are new members of All Things Relevant Media, because Black media matters. Now, Andrea Hall Houston stated, it would be interesting to see the NAACP work with health providers to assist with communication and advocacy due to pandemic issues.
That's why I love that sister.
No offense, Julie. I love
no offense, Julie. That's a bad sister. That's a bad
beautiful
sister.
Person. Inside
and let me tell you, that is an imperative. Because if our membership base is dying, I mean, you identified earlier, Ant and Reggie, it's older. Okay. If our mothers are dying, if our sisters are dying, if our aunts are dying, if we can't get decent health care, because now there's this sort of sweeping bill that says that if a doctor messes up on you in something coronavirus related, guess what? You cannot sue. You cannot use the court system. And the infrastructure was already overburdened. But if we don't begin to speak these things to power and partner with the Black Medical Association, there is one here, partner with the Department of Health when we can, or just talk to people about what's going on, we're going to lose more folk. I mean, it's killing us. It's almost like a purge to our communities.
Absolutely.
So I agree. I mean, we've got to begin to work with healthcare providers, and I let me just say, I'm open to how we do that. I'm not married to a particular course of action. I just want it to be effective, and I want it to be strong, so we save lives. So I agree.
Thank you. So I have a comment from Alvin B. Cohen. Good evening, gentlemen. The NAACP office agenda is economic empowerment, criminal justice reform, unequal education, healthcare access, quality of treatment. Does the Savannah chapter have a similar vision?
Brother Cohen always is like a professor. He always asks these pointed questions, and it's good to hear from you, brother. Good to hear from you. He's been in the fight for a long time. So yes, and in fact, we are bound by the mission of the larger organization, Brother Cohen, as you implied by that question. So we are always fighting for economic empowerment, particularly in the coronavirus era, because it is a new age now, when more and more Black businesses are going under. I know what that's like, because I'm a small business owner myself with a law firm, and we've got to begin to fight for things like Black folk getting access to PPP funds. Okay, helping Black folk with these applications, if appropriately, figuring out who needs economic relief, and aiding the governmental agencies in being able to collect that data. But that is a process, and it requires the right sort of mechanism and systems to get that done. But I agree. So healthcare access, we talked about that. Unequal education is a big thing, particularly with the coronavirus as well. But we have our education committee that is going to get on top of that as well. And overall quality of treatment. I think that's sort of overarching, Brother Cohen. And we're going to be looking at any systemic injustice that has a major impact on our citizenship base. And you know about those things because you have been in the fight for a long time. And I look forward to chatting with you a little bit more about what your impressions are on those things.
Absolutely. Let me get to Aura right. There may be other venues to reach Black people, but don't throw away the church. It has been a staple of our community for years. Although we may be facing the end of an era, our financially stable elders will find a church. That financial support you may not get from some other venues. Let me say this, Miss Wright. I wasn't throwing away the church, but what I was saying is that the NAACP, you know, like other organizations, find it an easy turn to go to the church instead of directly to the community, because most people most people that are inside the church compared to people that don't go to church are not being reached. I mean, excuse me, have more access to more things than people that don't go to church in some cases. And I'm talking about our impoverished communities. I'm talking about the Black indigent communities. Now you cannot in any organization you cannot disregard the older members because a lot of them don't do the work anymore, but they are the first one to write that check, while the younger members are still doing the work but don't have the money to write that check. So I just think it has to be a balance. I'm not saying stand out of the Black church. I'm saying be in the community as much as you're in the Black church. I hope I addressed that comment, Ms. Wright. And thank you for that comment. So I tell you, Mr. Mance, we are by us joining the HER Media. We joined the network to create and report the real news, report the real Black narrative, the uncut for our people, and with over 20 talk shows on all things relevant media. We want to let you know that we are an avenue of information for you. We are a resource for you to get the word out. If you're willing to use this.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I already told you, I think what y'all are doing is phenomenal. I think y'all are leading in a way that sets an example for future generations. And any way that I can work with like-minded brothers, that also, you know, it's inspiring to see y'all do this. It's more my pleasure than it is y'all's.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, bro.
So we have Malvis Arkeem Roberson. If I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Brother Roberson, please charge it to the head, not the heart. Would you be more active getting millennials out to vote in future elections?
Absolutely, Brother Roberson. Absolutely, unequivocally. And this is why y'all are growing. First, I'm a trial lawyer by trade, and we need y'all on juries, man. Gosh, we need you. And the only way to get there is through voting. And voting is sort of this route to democratic participation in a full, robust way so that you can exert the most influence on the system, not just through electing a politician, but, you know, the politicians elect, or they pick federal judges that, by the way, by and large, interpret this civil rights stuff that we're faced with. And they also create agencies and produce legislation that is affecting our lives in a real way. So I need you in the fight. It's not an option, because we cannot transition to the new era in an equipped way without millennials at the table. So that's a big part of the new focus.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff. Now, Attorney Mance, with like you said, with COVID going on, I know you say, are y'all gonna be like doing like different lives, like monthly or something for the community, or something like that?
One of the things that I want to do, my philosophy is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So if a brother like y'all, if y'all's organization does stuff, I'm going to support a pre-existing organization.
Gotcha.
Period. First. And then if we need to do something in a way that it hasn't been done and there's a niche for it and our members really need it, we will consider that. But I will take, anybody that wants to hear from the NAACP, I will appear if there is not an existing conflict any day of the week. That's how passionate I am about getting the message out.
Absolutely. So is there any plans to get a new office or a new facility?
For now, no. And that's because we're in dire economic circumstances. However, if we can raise the membership bar enough, that is always on the table. We've got to control costs, and that's a pretty cost efficient place. But at some point, if the organization grows like it can, we may have to get another place to meet the needs of the organization.
I hope you guys are faced with the dilemma of having to find somewhere new because of the growth in membership.
Yeah.
But until then, I'd like to have talks with you offline, of course, about raising some funds to be able to get that building repaired, painted, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think with you taking the helm, somebody's coming to see the NAACP office. I think it should be a better representation than what it is now. And I'm not saying anything bad about anyone. I understand the financial situation, but I think there can be a fundraiser or something that can be had to get some money to get the building fixed up a little more.
Yeah, that's always that, beautifying the building, making sure that it's safe. That area is not always the safest. Making sure it's still accessible to the community, not divorced from it. Those are going to be unique considerations. Hopefully, making sure the NAACP owns some real estate at some point, if that's possible. These are things that are always on the table.
Okay. I have another question from Melinda Gwen Thornton. Can you have some NAACP youth Zoom or Instagram meetings or conferences to engage the younger people, as well as encouraging officers under the guidance of the adult officer holders?
I think that's a great idea. In fact, on my list of little things to get done is a virtual town hall. I think that'd be amazing to connect with folks and to build a sense of community.
Y'all didn't have one of those already? I thought y'all did. Y'all have one on the 27th? Virtual town hall?
We had a swearing in on the 27th.
Oh, that's what. Okay, I thought the thing said a virtual.
I got a feeling you were there.
Yeah, I think I was.
No,
vaguely remember.
Yeah.
But with the pandemic, it is really shown. It has really forced our hand into doing things virtually, and I love it actually. You know what I mean? You can still reach people from the privacy of your own home.
Right.
So we have a question from the unofficial First Lady of Savannah, Miss Dr. Tanya Howard Hall. What are your think outside the box plans to reach the youth and other millennial clubs and organizations?
Well, the first thing,
touched on this a little bit already.
The first thing is maximizing social media. Social media, first of all, not all platforms are the same. So, using Facebook to reach a larger crowd, using Instagram to reach the youth and the millennials there, taking video is king on Facebook. Y'all know that. But also there's a lot of data that comes from a message when somebody says, I need NAACP help. That's an opportunity to engage. What does our ideal millennial member look like? And if we figure out where to go to bring the millennials in, then we have a more successful recruiting expedition. But we also have pre-existing Savannah NAACP chapters. For example, at Armstrong, there's been a chapter that's been active for a while. Savannah State has had a pretty good chapter for as long as I can remember. I don't think SCAD has one, but who knows what might happen at some point. But
Yeah.
but taking Jordan, it's now Georgia Southern, not Armstrong. But taking that sort of leadership and engaging it, connecting it with the main office, and making sure that the youth has structure and resources to get things done. And they know that they can call me, the presidents can call me at any time, and I will do what I can to support them, because they're going to take the helm. And so we got to have a succession plan. I don't think it's really out of the box to do these things. It certainly is out of the norm.
Absolutely.
But it's not out of the box, because most successful organizations are already doing these things.
Okay. We have a question from Melinda Gwen Thornton. But many young people, it makes me, many young people want to do and are being told that it is not their time. It is amazing that you are in this position. However, we need to see inclusion of the youth. Many left the NAACP because we were not included and not given a chance to speak or make recommendations.
Ms. Thornton, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for speaking truth to power. And I agree. But let me tell you this, if you can't, I sound like an old man, baby, but you can hopefully see the youth on my face still. Sister, we will put you to work. Okay? I will put you to work. Just send me a message. I'm Chad Mance on Facebook. We'll find something to get you involved. But y'all are critical, okay? And Reg and I were talking about this earlier. If you really studied movements and you look at them, the youth always start them. Always. Go back to the 70s and that movement. You started that. Go back to the 60s, the sit-ins and the lunch counters. Greensboro Thor, for example. You started that. And flash forward to the Arbery movement that we have now. The youth is leading that. So we cannot be competent in our leadership in the struggle unless we have you guiding the way. We need you, and we need your friends now. Don't tap out on me. We're gonna need you engaged, sister. So thank you for that comment. We need you. Please message me, Chad Mance on Facebook.
It's funny you said Greensboro, because with the Greensboro sit-ins, they were unsure about how they would continue the sit-ins and the protests and the demonstrations with the college letting out. So some local high school students stepped up and continued that demonstration. That's the reason it was so effective. So as we see, there's a big push to get the youth involved. And I myself joined the NAACP. When I got here, I met with Miss Hunt, and I was on the egress committee, and I noticed there was not a veteran committee, so I tried to start the veteran committee. I emailed the person who they told me to email, called them repeatedly, no answer. The next thing I know, there was a veteran committee started. You know what I mean? So we're not gonna let you do it, but we're gonna do it. So then, there was some other things that took place, but Mr. Mance, I've been very critical of Al Scott for his inaction, for his seatbelt that he's had on the organization. I'm very hopeful. I'm very excited about you, but I have to tell you, for the sake of our people, I will be critical of you as well. But I will not offer my criticism without first offering my hand in support. So I just want you to know that. Okay.
Well, that's your job, brother. That's your job. You're not supposed to be a respecter of persons. All right. I mean, if we're in the struggle and we care about what really matters, then the only thing that's important is the goal that we're trying to achieve. And it's up to me to be critical of y'all too, because Dr. King said, I cannot be all that I'm meant to be unless you are all that you're meant to be. So I don't take those things personally. The NAACP won't take those things personally. And that's a part of the democratic process. President Scott has done some things that were great. And like anybody, he's a human being. And there's always something that can be done better. And so we want to take the rich legacy of the NAACP and kind of put some hot sauce on that thing, you know? Spice it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm talking about. So Julius Hall said, I'm excited about the opportunity to help advance this new leadership. Andrew Hall Houston said, Attorney Mance has a passion and the vision to spearhead the NAACP in the right direction. Savannah leadership today is on point.
Thank y'all. Thank you. I certainly hope so. And I know you guys will hold me to task. I'm going to tell you, the organization will make mistakes, okay? It will. Yeah. And we need your involvement to tell us when we're making mistakes so that we can make the necessary adjustments. All right. But I promise we will have more victories than we do stumbling blocks. Okay. And that's because we're gonna present on a united front. All right. Okay. This is not an egomaniac thing. I'm gonna tell you, I'm an imperfect person. All right. You know, but I believed in the power of people, and I still believe in it. And I think if we can get together and join hands with all the bright minds that we have in our community, my goodness, we're going to have a better place 10 years, 5 years, 1 or 2 years from now for our children to live in, because Savannah is a land of opportunity. And we're going to kick that door down so that all people can have a seat at the table that is overflowing with opportunity for all people, not just Black people, but all people.
Absolutely. So, Melinda Gwen Thornton, I am hopeful from hearing this conversation this evening. However, I hear what you say, but I believe what I see. I must disagree with you regarding Al Scott, though. That's fine. That's fine, Ms. Thornton. I thank you for your comment. We can still disagree, and I still love you.
Yes, ma'am. And I don't know you, Miss Thornton. I look forward to meeting you. But I agree, and I think your role is to be critical of leadership and to remind it of what it can be. And I expect that you'll probably be critical of me on some things, but I hope that what we can continue to do as an organization is to fight for your rights. And I can tell you, just having been at the table on some things, that we have pushed for marginalized groups. And so we continue that fight, and I'm going to do my very best to serve you in that way.
Awesome.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, Mr. Mance, where can someone go who may want to be a part of the change and get involved in the NAACP? How can they put their name out there and say, hey, I want to be involved. I can do this, and this, or use me however you deem necessary? How can someone get involved and start helping NAACP?
You can always visit us online, and our website is www.savnaacp.com. That's savnaacp.com. You can also, if you want to donate, don't have to, but if you want to, we have a Cash App now.
Hold on.
That's progress, brother.
How long have y'all had that Cash App?
And technically, that came out of Mr. Scott's administration.
Wow.
You know, Brother Scott doing some work now. Got a Cash App now. Come on, sis.
I don't know Mr. Scott. I don't I'm not attacking them personally, but I'm just well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But anyway, the Cash App is $Savannah NAACP, $Savannah NAACP. You can call the office at 912-233-4161. You can message me on Facebook. I'm Chad Mance. Mance is how you spell my last name.
That's good stuff. I like that. I was going to ask that question. How do you donate, even if you don't want to be a member? Because I believe every able Black person in Savannah should give $5 a month. You know, just because.
We'll take 50 cents. We'll take anything, brother.
Yeah.
We will take anything.
That's good too. Hey, I think $5. Everybody's got $5. They blow it on some candy.
50 cents.
Hey,
that's it.
That's just me.
Give us some of your tithes and offerings, something.
There you go.
That's a good way we can start the building fund, and we'll actually change the building.
Right.
That's right. Everybody get a little bit, you know.
Right.
Don't take much.
Let me ask you, because you know you have a bunch of young people. We're about to get out of here. Like, they can't send you the money to join the organization through Cash App, can they? Like, if I send you the membership fee, then maybe you'll call them up there to, you know, come fill out the application.
We have to have a check. I think we have to have a check on that. Miss Linda Carter is our branch secretary, and she's a wealth of information. If you call the office, you should get her. She's usually there part-time. And so even if you leave a message and she's not there, she will get back with you, but she can answer that question specifically. I think national requires that we send a check. I'm not quite sure, but I think so.
All right. Well, I tell you what, Mr. Mance, in 100 days, if you have the time and desire, we'll have you back on to talk about some of the great things that you've done, which I know you're going to do great things with the NAACP. But I want to thank you for your time. We look forward to working with you. You know, there's only, you know, good stuff ahead for the Savannah NAACP. And
thank you.
Glad to hear to say that.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here and finally meet you, Brother Reggie, Big Ant. Julius and I know each other, and Julius has been in the fight for a while.
Absolutely.
Sister Hall and I know each other, and a few of the other folks like Mr. Cohen and I have known each other. And so what I want to leave y'all with is to remember that the NAACP means nothing without y'all. All right. And that's not fodder. That's not rhetoric. It's real. Part of the reason why the organization doesn't have as much momentum as it used to is because we don't have that same kind of youthful energy. And so we're trying to revitalize that. We can't do anything without y'all. Y'all are the key. And so I look forward to helping you guys as much as I can within my limited powers as a person, and having the organization do the same thing, because we really exist to serve y'all. That's why we're here.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Great first show. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.